Hey everyone, welcome back. We're diving into something pretty cool today. Buddhist philosophy and how it looks at self-development and success. You've given us a ton of sources to work with, and it seems like you're really interested in figuring out how all this ancient wisdom can actually be used to, reach your goals and just live a better life.
Yeah, it's interesting how Buddhism kind of turns our usual ideas about success upside down. It's not really about chasing money or fame, but more about changing yourself from the inside. And that's how they see the key to a truly fulfilling and successful life.
I gotta say, I'm already hooked.
Mhm.
It seems like all we hear these days is about working harder and harder, getting ahead, achieving more and more. But Buddhism seems to be suggesting a whole other path. So where do we even start?
Well, it all starts with inner harmony. That's what Buddhism sees as the foundation of success. The idea is that when we work on ourselves, our thoughts, emotions, and actions, that directly affects everything we experience out there in the world.
So basically, we should stop focusing so much on what's happening around us and look inward instead. It's kind of like that saying, change your thoughts, change your life, but with like a deeper philosophical reason behind it.
Exactly. You can think of it like a riverbed that's slowly shaped by the water flowing through it. Our inner state is like that water. It's constantly shaping our outer world.
Wow, that's a powerful image. But how do we actually get to that state of inner harmony? I see mindfulness mentioned a lot in this stuff. I've tried some meditation apps, but I'm not sure I really get it.
Well, in Buddhism, mindfulness is about being completely present right here, right now.
Mm.
You're just observing your thoughts and feelings without judging them. It's like hitting pause on all that mental noise and just becoming an observer of your own mind.
So it's not about clearing your head or trying to stop thinking altogether. It's more about making space to notice those thoughts.
That makes sense.
I could see how that could lead to more peace. But can it really change how we experience success?
Here's the thing. Mindfulness helps us break free from those automatic reactions we all have. It lets us make conscious choices instead of just reacting out of habit. Like imagine you're dealing with a tough situation at work. With mindfulness, you can actually choose how to respond instead of just reacting impulsively.
Right, it's like having that extra moment to choose a response that matches your values and goals.
Exactly. Being able to respond skillfully is essential for creating the life we want, both personally and professionally. And that brings us to another important principle that keeps coming up in these teachings: discipline.
Discipline. Honestly, that word makes me think of restrictions and
Mhm.
missing out.
Oh,
Not really a happy, successful life.
right.
But these sources seem to be saying something different.
Right. You're right. Buddhism doesn't see discipline as a bunch of rigid rules or self denial. It's about mastering yourself, your
Yeah.
impulses, your desires, so you can really focus on what matters most.
So it's more about empowering yourself than limiting yourself, like training your mind the same way an athlete trains their body.
I like that analogy. Discipline, in this sense, leads to freedom freedom from being controlled by all those fleeting desires, freedom to go after what truly brings you lasting joy and fulfillment. It's like clearing a path through all the distractions so you can walk towards your goals with focus and a clear mind.
Wow, that really changes how I think about discipline. It's not about punishing yourself. It's about giving yourself the tools to actually get what you want.
And this focus on inner strength and clarity naturally leads us to another big idea in Buddhist philosophy: compassion.
Compassion. Okay. We hear that word a lot, but I'm guessing it means something deeper in Buddhist philosophy. Like it's got to be more than just being nice, right?
It is. In Buddhism, compassion goes way beyond just being kind. It's really about seeing how connected we all are.
Yeah.
Recognizing that everybody's on their own journey and facing their own struggles.
So it's about empathy then, like really trying to see things from other people's perspectives and understand what they're going through, even if it's totally different from our own experience.
Yeah, and it's about taking action too. Buddhist teachings are really clear that we can't just ignore the suffering we see around us. Real positive change has to start with ourselves, with how we transform ourselves. But then it spreads outward and starts to impact the world around us.
So it's not just a feeling. Compassion is like a call to action. It pushes us to make a difference, to actually do something.
You got it. And what's really cool is that while compassion obviously helps other people, it also makes us feel more peaceful and harmonious inside.
It's like a beautiful cycle then. Changing ourselves from the inside leads to positive actions, which then creates even more harmony within us and in the world. I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together to create a truly fulfilling life.
That's the beauty of Buddhist philosophy, how it connects all these different parts of who we are. And the best part is your sources don't just talk about theory. They actually give us real tools for putting these principles into practice.
That's what I'm really interested in. We've been talking about these big ideas like mindfulness and discipline and compassion. But how do we actually use them in everyday life?
Well, one super simple but powerful practice that comes up again and again is just bringing mindfulness into your day. Even something as small as pausing for a few breaths every hour to really become aware of the present moment can make a big difference.
I can see how those little pauses could help us stop always rushing around and worrying, like just hitting the reset button a few times each day and becoming more present.
Exactly. It's about bringing conscious awareness to what you're experiencing, even if it's just for a few moments. And speaking of conscious practices, the sources also talk a lot about the power of rituals.
Rituals. I'm not really into ceremony or anything like that, but I'm open to hearing how it fits in here.
Think of rituals as like anchors for your practice, something that brings you back to those core principles we've been talking about. Maybe it's taking a moment to be grateful before you eat, or having a little reflection time at the end of the day, or even just setting an intention for the day ahead.
Okay, I like that. It's like setting up little reminders for yourself throughout the day to stay connected to the values you're working on.
Exactly. Rituals help you stay focused and intentional. And, one intention that often gets lost in the craziness of life is gratitude.
Oh, yeah, gratitude. I know it's super important, but I have trouble making it a regular thing.
Yeah.
What do the Buddhist teachings say about that?
The sources actually suggest something really simple, like doing a daily gratitude practice where you write down just 3 things you're grateful for each day. It sounds basic, but when you consistently focus on what you have instead of what you don't have, it can change your whole outlook.
It's like you're retraining your brain to see the abundance that's already there instead of always focusing on what's missing. I bet that could have a huge impact on everything you do.
Absolutely. And while we're talking about changing our perspective, another really important practice is self-compassion. We're usually pretty good at showing compassion to others, but we forget to be kind to ourselves.
Oh, yeah, I'm totally guilty of that. That inner critic in my head can be brutal sometimes. How does Buddhism deal with self-compassion?
It encourages us to treat ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we'd offer a close friend, especially when we're struggling.
It's so easy to get caught up in judging ourselves, especially with all the pressure to achieve and be perfect. But wouldn't too much self-compassion just make us lazy?
I know that's a worry a lot of people have. But Buddhist teachings actually say that self-compassion isn't about making excuses for ourselves or letting ourselves off the hook. It's about realizing that we're all human. We all mess up, and that's okay. It's about giving ourselves support and encouragement instead of just beating ourselves up all the time.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about creating a more supportive environment inside ourselves instead of constantly fighting ourselves. This is really making me think. Are there any other tools or practices you found in these sources?
Yeah, there's one concept that comes up a lot, and it's a big one: non-attachment.
Non-attachment. Okay, we touched on this before we were talking about discipline. I get letting go of like those little fleeting desires.
Yeah.
But how does non-attachment work with bigger goals and ambitions? Wouldn't letting go of those just make you lose motivation?
It's not about giving up on your goals. It's more about letting go of the need to control exactly how things turn out. Buddhist philosophy teaches us that clinging too tightly to a specific outcome can actually cause us suffering because life is always changing and things don't always go as planned.
So you're saying it's about focusing on the journey,
Yeah,
like the whole process of working towards something instead of getting fixated on the end result.
you got it. It's about trusting that if you put in the effort and cultivate the right qualities, the right outcome will naturally unfold. And even if things don't turn out exactly how you imagined them, you can still find peace and fulfillment in the journey itself.
That's a really powerful way to look at life. It takes the pressure off needing everything to be perfect and lets you appreciate the process of growing and learning. This whole idea of non-attachment is really fascinating. I think I need to learn more about that.
I definitely recommend it. It's a concept that can be really liberating once you start to grasp it.
So we've covered mindfulness rituals, gratitude, self-compassion, and now non-attachment. Anything else you found in there?
Oh, yeah. The sources also really emphasize making space for silence and reflection. They encourage things like meditation, even if it's just for a few minutes every day, to quiet your mind and connect with yourself.
Meditation. I know it's good for me, but I always struggle to find the time. Any advice for someone like me who's always on the go?
You don't have to become a meditation master or anything. Even starting with just a couple of minutes a day can be helpful. Find a quiet spot, focus on your breath, and just observe your thoughts without judgment. It's a really powerful way to find peace and clarity.
Okay, I'm going to add that to my list.
Yeah.
Short meditations, a few minutes a day. Anything else?
One last thing that really stood out to me, and I think it's so important, especially in our crazy busy world, Embrace imperfection.
Embrace imperfection. Wait, isn't the whole point of self-development to improve yourself, to strive for excellence? How can those two ideas go together?
It's not about giving up on growing or settling for less than you can be. It's about realizing that we're all on a journey, and that journey is going to have bumps in the road, mistakes, and setbacks. It's about celebrating the progress we make, even the small stuff, and being kind to ourselves along the way.
That's such a great reminder. We're so surrounded by messages about being perfect that we forget to appreciate the beauty of the journey itself with all its imperfections. It's about progress, not perfection, and really embracing that whole process.
Exactly. And that actually connects back to the idea of non-attachment. When we let go of the need for everything to be perfect, we open ourselves up to the joy of learning and growing, even when we make mistakes.
Wow, this has been such an insightful conversation. I'm really starting to see how these Buddhist principles that we often think of as separate ideas actually all work together to create this amazing framework for a fulfilling and successful life. As we've been talking about all these principles, mindfulness, discipline, compassion, non-attachment, and even embracing imperfection, it really hits me how different this all is from our usual Western ideas of success. It's less about what you achieve on the outside and more about developing these qualities within yourself. Did you find anything in the sources about how Buddhism actually defines success?
It's funny because Buddhism doesn't really give you a one-size-fits-all definition of success. It's not like you have to achieve this one specific thing or reach a certain level or status. It's more about living a life that matches your values, finding inner peace, and contributing to the well-being of others.
So it's a more well-rounded approach,
Yeah.
more focused on values, not just about climbing the ladder and getting rich like we often hear about.
Exactly, and this actually connects back to some of the principles we've already talked about. Remember non-attachment. Well, in terms of success, it means not getting so hung up on a specific result that you forget to enjoy the journey itself.
Makes sense. It's about feeling satisfied with the process of growing and contributing, not just chasing some external sign of success. Did the sources mention any other qualities or practices that relate to this Buddhist idea of success?
Oh yeah, definitely. A few really stood out to me. One was patience, something we don't value much in our fast-paced world. But the sources emphasize that in Buddhism, patience isn't about passively waiting around for something to happen. It's about staying calm and balanced as you work toward your goals, understanding that real change takes time.
So it's about trusting the process and not getting discouraged if things don't happen right away. Kind of like planting a seed and patiently nurturing it until it grows into a strong tree.
That's a great analogy. And along with patience, the sources also highlighted gratitude as a key ingredient for success. It's about shifting your focus from what you're missing to what you already have, appreciating all the good things in your life.
I've heard so much about how powerful gratitude is, but I still find it hard to make it a regular practice. Any tips from the Buddhist perspective on how to actually become more grateful in everyday life?
One simple thing they suggest is starting each day by thinking about 3 things you're grateful for. It could be anything, really, like a cup of coffee, a beautiful sunrise, or a kind word from a friend. The important thing is to really feel that appreciation and let it carry you through the day.
I like that. Starting your day with a positive mindset focused on the good stuff instead of getting bogged down by all the challenges. Did the sources mention anything about self-belief and how it relates to success?
Absolutely. They were very clear that true success in Buddhism comes from recognizing your own potential and having the confidence to go after your dreams. It's about believing in your ability to grow, to learn, and to make a positive impact on the world.
It's like that saying, whether you think you can or you think you can't. You're right. What we believe really shapes our reality, and having that self-belief is essential for actually taking those steps to create the life we want.
Exactly. Self-belief is what drives us forward. It's that inner strength that helps us overcome obstacles and achieve what we set out to do.
This has been such an eye-opening deep dive. We've covered so much. Mindfulness discipline, compassion, non-attachment, embracing imperfection, patience, gratitude, and self-belief. It's all part of this really holistic way of looking at success.
It reminds us that true success isn't about getting approval from others or collecting a bunch of stuff. It's about developing those inner qualities that lead to a truly fulfilling and meaningful life.
So as we wrap things up today, I want to encourage you to think about these principles and how you might use them in your own life. Ask yourself, what's one small step I can take today to become more mindful, more compassionate, or more self-assured? What rituals or practices can I try to stay connected to my values and what I want to achieve?
And don't forget, this journey of self-discovery is a process. It's not about reaching some final destination. Embrace all the ups and downs, the challenges, and the victories. Know that every step you take towards changing yourself from within is a step toward a more fulfilling and successful life.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Buddhist philosophy and its unique take on success. Until next time, keep searching, keep growing, and keep shining your light.